Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Fabiana, and for today's tutorial I was looking for something to make for this Easter, but I wasn't sure what. That's when I came across these beautiful beanies on TikTok with long ears, and then I made this vision board for you guys just to show you what I'm thinking about. And what I like about this beanie is that it has two colors on the head, which got me thinking, can I make this on my Centro knitting machine? So I'm going to replicate this beanie on using my Centro 48 and also my Centro 40, okay? I decided to make the hat on a Centro 48 only because I'm making an adult size, and then I'm going to be making the ears on the Centro 40, okay? You can be using for the ears any machine, really. It will all depend of how wide you want your ears to be. I'm going to be using worsted weight yarn and some plastic markers and also a tapestry needle and some scissors. I made a drawing here so I can follow along with the rows that I thought I was going to need. And now grab your knitting machine. I'm using the Centro 48 here. And I'm going to cast on all the stitches to work on the tube mode of my machine to make the half of the beanie top. To cast on the stitches with the yarn in front of the first needle and on the back of the next one, and keep repeating this until you are back in the first needle. And once you finish cast on, I'm going to be making 60 rows for an adult size. If you are making the kid size, make only 50 or even 40 depending of the size you are making. I would make for 4 to 6 years old, I would even make 45 rows in this case, okay? To use the tensioner, slide the yarn through each one of the spaces just to test and see which one fits the yarn of your choice better. And then keep making the rows until you reach the desired size. Make sure you are counting the rows while you make it, because I don't have a row counter, so I get lost sometimes. Here I'm using a ear plug as well, a silicone ear plug. It works really well for worsted weight yarns, so I highly recommend you get yourself one because it helps a lot when the yarn is difficult to use. Also, don't forget to clamp your machine to the table because it's much easier to work. I use my machine with Velcro tape and also these clamps here that I put on the table, and it's really stable to work. I think it's the best solution I found for my machine. Plus you can change from one machine to the other, like I'm going to do after this. After I finished the pink part of it, I started to make the white with the same amount of rows that I made on the other side. They have to be very exactly the same, only because we are going to seam both sides together after, and they have to match on the size, okay? And then to bind off the stitches, all you do is just place your yarn inside the machine and crank a full row without the yarn. Make sure you stop just before the yarn tail, just to make sure you're not gonna drop any stitch. And now with a tapestry needle and some contrasting color of yarn, start casting off the stitches one by one. The reason I'm using this way of casting off the stitches is because we're going to be seaming this beanie on the top later. It's gonna be much easier to spot the stitches to make the seamless graft stitch. So this is our tube when it comes out of the machine, and here are both of the tubes. Don't forget to leave a long tail at the end so you can use to seam it later. And now use your Centro 40 needles to make the ears. I'm gonna be making the exact same way that I did on for the other two tubes, and then I'm going to be casting it off with the tapestry needle and a contrasting color of yarn as well. I have only this yarn left, and I made 90 rows for my ears, okay? You can make much smaller or much longer. It all depends of how long you want them for. These are my 4 pieces, and now let's put them together, guys. So I'm going to start seaming the head part of it, and this is the white side that I already did, the seaming. This type of stitch is called graft, and so what you do is you just fold in half the beanie, and then you go from one side to another. Now go through the first stitch on the opposite side, and then the second stitch as well. We will be working 2 stitches at a time, and for each stitch we're gonna put the needle through twice, okay? And then straight to the other side. And remove this waste yarn while you do it, so it's easier to seam as well, okay? And then here put through the first stitch, and then the second stitch as well. Then pull the yarn. I'm going to be repeating this stitch on both sides, but not the ears, okay? The ears are gonna be seamed differently. This is gonna be the top part of our brim, and that's why it needs to be seamless like this. And don't forget to keep the same tension of the other rows, just to make sure it's not gonna be visible when you finish. And your stitches are going to look exactly the same as the rest of your head. As you can see, this stitch will form a little V shape, exactly like the rest of the stitches that you have on this row. And this is how it's gonna look like. And this is how you finish on the opposite side. You leave the yarn, the waste yarn a little bit, just so it's easier to spot the stitches, and then remove it after you made the last stitches. And then just put that yarn tail to the inside of the beanie. Make the last stitch and then put the yarn inside the beanie, and then make a knot on the back of the beanie and hide the tail after that. Now cut the yarn and flip the tube over, and this is how it looks like. See how seamless it is? Now put both tubes side by side and make a knot with another yarn tail on the bottom of one of the sides, and then go to the opposite side and go for 2 rows exactly in the middle of each stitch this way. As you can see, I'm grabbing right in the middle of them, and I'm going to be making each 2 rows, okay? And then just seam all the way to the top. And if you grab the beanie this way, it's gonna be much more easy to spot which stitch are you working with, because you're gonna follow the same stitch all the way to the other side. So just repeat this stitch all the way to the top and as well on the other side of the beanie, and that's what's gonna close it as a tube. And now fold the beanie in half after you finished, and then repeat the stitch on the other side as well. And now that our project's already looking like a beanie, it's closed as a tube, all you have to do is cinch the top very tight to close the hole as much as you can. Cinch both sides separately, and then just make a few knots on the top to secure it and hide the tails after. And then with the tapestry needle, hide the tails inside the head. Making a few knots as well on the other side just to close the hole a little better. And then just hide both tails on the back of the work after you made these knots to secure it. And then you can cut both pieces of this yarn when the top of your beanie is completely secured. Now this is how our beanie looks like, guys. And what you have to do now is just choose a side where the seaming looks better. As much as it's seamless, sometimes not perfect, so just choose the side that you think is better. For me is this one. Now to make the ears, I left the yarn still attached so I could work a few rows of crochet at the end, because in order to attach the ears to the rest of the beanie, we need to make them a little smaller. And so I'll be making a full row here to bind off the stitches with just slip stitches. I'm gonna go all around this first row, just binding off really. And then after this, I'm going to be making a few rows to decrease the number of stitches that I have now. Now slip stitch into the first stitch to start making the second row. Now you can remove this waste yarn here. And then to make the first row, just fold the ear in half. So we can work both stitches together and that way close the ear on this side as well. We're gonna go through both loops of each crochet stitch and just pull it and make a single crochet in each 2 stitches to close it off. I'll be making this same row all the way to the other side. Just make sure you grab both stitches and both loops of each stitch to close them the same way. And then work this row all the way to the other side. And then make a chain to turn the work and start the second row. Now to decrease the stitches, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the hook through both loops, through 2 loops together every time I make a stitch. That way I'm going to decrease the stitches in half, just to make this ear a little smaller. And I'll be repeating this row all the way to the end as well. And at the end of this row, I'm going to chain 1 and make a row just of single crochets without increasing. And then in this last row here, I'm going to chain 1 and repeat the same row we just did by decreasing the stitches, by making them 2 together. This is gonna be the last row I'm making. And then after this, what I'm going to do is just leave a long tail so I can seam the ear with the rest of the beanie. Okay, just chain 1 to finish the work. And then cut a little bit of a tail so you can seam the ears to the rest of the beanie. And then on the other side, what you're gonna do is you're gonna cinch the other side all the way until it's very closed, and then you're gonna close with a knot like we did on the top of the beanie before. And then what I'm going to do to shape this ear is I'm going to, right after this, just finish it off, and right after this just shape it the way you want really. I'm going to shape just like this because I saw in another photo of somebody else they had just like this, and I thought it worked really well. So I'm just going to metro stitch here right on the bottom of the ear for only a few rows, not many, just so the ear is a little smaller at the end and just with a better shape. And so here you can really seam as much as you want. I prefer just a little bit just to shape the edge of it. And then you can make a knot and hide this tail. Repeat the same for the other ear as well. Here are both ears. I tried the head on to see where I should seam each one of them and placed a marker. And then seam them on the top of each crochet stitch to join the beanie with the ears. Once this is ready, I use my Kato electric eye cord to make 2 bow ties and attach them to the ears as well. And this is our beautiful beanie, how it came out. Let me show you guys. Can't say it's not a fun project to make. It's cute, isn't it? I'm going to leave the link down in the description below for a size for kids as well, because you can make both. Thank you all for watching, guys. This link for this pattern is gonna be down in the description below. And I really appreciate you're here watching my content. Thank you so much. Happy Easter for everyone. Bye.